Okay guys, so this is a very hot project, and why is it? Because you, me, everybody else is also talking about this, and so it's confirmed hot off the oven. So even coffee shop uncle, auntie, they are all also talking about it. So you know that's why there is this called hype. But let's come back to reality and kind of do a quick check. Okay, why? Because with all this hype, all this constant bombarding in your own face, right, regarding this mega development project. So what are the key things that we also need to be aware of? All right, so I think this is very important for us to really understand. And can Springleaf residents really exit at 2004 or even 2000 above $2,400 per square foot in 2029? I think this is something that some of us may be thinking, it's a wishful thinking. It may not be that kind of situation. So today we are really uncovering not just the entry for Springleaf, but also projecting how the exit potentially is going to be, and how can we make it very safe in terms of our purchase. And do we really need to hold on to this property for beyond the 10 years mark as well? So in this video, we're going to cover quite a fair bit to really kind of deep dive into it. So if you have just joined us and you have not subscribed to this channel and not like this video, so I really appreciate all the supports that you guys have given to us, because only with your support and your comments and your feedback, we are able to continue to push out more videos on a weekly basis to get you educated as a homeowner as well as an investor. Okay, so this is very important. Why? Because a lot of times when we are looking at projects out there, there will be a lot of confusion. There will be a lot of people saying things that it may not be true. So we really want to deep dive, not just about hearsays, but using research data and numbers to analyze whether Springleaf residence is really the ideal project for you, or could you be actually exploring other options as well. So this is where we're going to uncover in today's of Springleaf residence. Will we have a safe exit at 2004 plus per square foot come 2029? I think this is one of the major questions that every one of us have. All right, so if you are not aware that the Springleaf residents actually are already open for viewing, and if you really need to seek a second opinion, you can actually scan the QR code and get in touch with us so that we can kind of deep dive with you, not just about whether the project is ideal for you, but also to do certain comparison. Could there be any perspective that you're unaware of? Maybe we can actually share with you different options or different scenarios of what your property plan is like. So again, in this video, I will not go into too much about the specifics of how many units, all these details. I will do a very quick run through with that. And I'll be providing you more insights of how this project is suited. All right, what are the mistakes that we should also look into to avoid, especially if, let's say, today you are already going for this. What are the key things that you should take note of? And so overview in this video, what I'm going to cover is my point of view about this development. Okay, very important. And also the traps that you could possibly jump into it without you realizing about this project and this location. And also the layout. Okay, the layouts you must avoid. Okay, I think we have done a deep dive about the different layouts of what Springleaf residents can provide. And there are some layouts that you really need to be a little bit more careful about. And if you ask me, I would totally avoid them. So you want to also kind of watch on all the way. And also the top two layouts that I believe in Springleaf will be very, very hot. Okay, and that is the reason why we are doing this video. So of course, last but not least, the major question is, can Springleaf residents really exit at 2004 plus per square foot and above come 2029? All right, so we're going to go very quickly just to give you an overview about what this project is about. So total 941 units, and that's the reason why everybody is talking about this being so long that there's no mega development. Okay, mega development used to be Treasure at Tampines at 2000. Now 900 plus, we also call it mega already. So food for thought. Okay, well, of course in Springleaf area, yeah, there has not been any development, so that's why anything compared also mega lah. Okay, in that sense. All right, so the unit estimated, of course, we're expecting about maybe 2029 for the TOP. And one of the key things that we just gotten this latest news, which I also want to kind of share with you, about the new EC land prices in Woodlands have just crossed the $782 per square foot per PPR. So if you use a very simple calculation, that means the average pricing there when they are going to break even should be about $1,400 to $1,500 per square foot. And the land cost is already at least 10% higher than Arela, which is Tampines. And so the question is, will Woodlands be selling the same price as Arela? Or will they be actually selling higher than Arela? So this kind of information, as we get recent updates, is really, you need to start asking yourself as a homeowner, what kind of impact will this news affect me in time to come? All right, so you guys might stay on as we really dive in deeper. And we're going to come back and do some comparison whether this new easy Woodlands pricing, what kind of impact it will have on us. All right. And so for Springleaf residents, you have a very clear breakdown. They totally did not do any one bedroom, which is definitely a smart move based on the location and the type of audience that you potentially are going to go for. So for the 2 bedrooms, we have almost about 35%, which is very common in most developments. They will want to load in a lot more 2 bedrooms. But I believe that at least today, we are seeing a very balanced kind of 3 bedrooms as well. So if you look at the 3 bedrooms combining, we are also almost about 30%. I think this is a very healthy breakdown. And why is this important for you as a homeowner? Because today, if your configuration of the type of units are irregular, or maybe they do too much 1 bedroom or even 2 bedrooms, then the transaction volumes are going to be definitely affect you in future. Why? Because a lot of the 1 bedroom or 2 bedrooms, a lot of them purchasing it is really just for rental purposes. Okay, and so today, if you are intending to offload your unit, there may be a lot more competitions that you need to take note of. But for Springleaf, I believe the percentage of the 2, 3 bedrooms are very comfortable. And not to say that they also have their 4 and 5 bedrooms, which typically are of lesser supply, and which is why usually the 4 and 5 bedroom units are going to be the last to actually move. But in recent, if you have been following my videos or even some of the updates, right? In recent months of some of the launches, we do see higher take-up rates for the bigger units. Okay, of course, it depends on location, it depends on pricing. So with Springleaf residents also have that kind of effect, whether it's a 4 bedroom or 5 bedroom take-up rate faster. Well, so later on, you must continue watching the video. Why? Because there is a certain particular layout, whether it's a 4 bedroom and 5 bedroom. If you ask me, in my opinion, I will try to avoid. Okay, I will avoid them. And which is the one that favors you when you buy in, you can have a peace of mind. Okay, so I think this is very important for us to look into it. All right, so if you look at the developer, of course, this is GuocoLand, and they have been successfully done the Lentor township where they hold at least 4 plots of land. So the question is, with Guoco doing this, a lot of people are using Lentor as a references that, oh, Guoco is going to change the climate of how Springleaf is going to be. They're going to be a new township. So the key thing is that I'm not rejecting the fact that they are a reputable developer and they do have the means and the vision to create, and that's how we have a successful blueprint of Lentor residence, Lentor area. The question is, will GuocoLand be able to replicate the same in Springleaf and become the kind of monopoly there at the same time? So there's a lot more study that you need to be aware of, and which is what we're going to study into the master plan as well, just to give us a glimpse of what is the upside in, and also most importantly, how long will it take for this township to become a reality. All right, so at this moment, it may be a little bit too early to tell. Of course, the narrative is very nice. Oh, follow Lentor, you are the first mover advantage. I mean, all this does have certain telltale signs of also the other perspective that we need to look into, and that's the reason why you're following this video. So let's look at the zoning for Springleaf. I think more importantly is today, a lot of people are very concerned about the surrounding of Springleaf. Why? Oh, you are the only first property there, and surrounding are also not much residentials. All right, you only have landed properties. So is this something that you want to exchange, all right, with the kind of greenery lifestyle, quieter, tranquil kind of lifestyle in exchange for your future exit potential? All right, so that will be a very big question, because this will affect how your next move of your next property plan is going to be. All right, depending on your age, you know, is this going to be your last property, or this is mainly just a stepping stone for you to move forward to the next property? All right, so there's a lot of all these consideration factors. If you have not done any of all this, then you may want to really reach out to seek a second opinion before you actually dive into any of the projects that you're purchasing at the moment. All right, be it resale or be it new launches. So for the zoning, of course, we already understand that today, based on the 2014 master plan, you can see that there's a lot of yellow spots still. Okay, so yellow spots are generally what reserve sites, and reserve sites means that government are able to kind of plan out what this reserve sites is for. And if we notice that when it crosses over to 2019 master plan, the entire color rezoned to what? Residential. So orange color is always residential. But the key thing is that you also need to know that there's also the indicator that says subject to further planning. Okay, so when the master plan, although we all study this, we also study the concept plan, which runs about 20 to 30 years down the road, to give us a better insights of how we can determine in that location, what is the urban blueprint going to be, what are the urban changes moving forward in the next 5 or even 10 years is going to be. All right, so we're going to kind of dive in deeper into these pros and cons and the so-called first mover advantage based on master plan. All right, so everything changed to orange, which is great. That means they are intending to put in more residentials. But then if you look at the 2023, the latest master plan change, right? Suddenly the plots becomes green color. You can see the difference. Let me just change a different color. So you can see that this entire area now changes to green color. All right, and whereas the rest are still residential. So this is also a new rezone that why we have the Springleaf residence, and then we have another mixed development, okay, with first story commercial being planned out. Okay, so these are all very important area that we need to be aware of to understand what is happening, not just based on, oh, this project is very nice, but you need to know what is the surrounding to kind of pinpoint how your neighbors, your surrounding is going to be changed, and what kind of transformation are we expecting that can equate to your growth potential. All right, so if we look at the Upper Thomson Zone A, just now as you all mentioned, this is Springleaf. Okay, Springleaf, and this is the new one that they're going to have a commercial space that includes a supermarket and childcare, and this has already been documented in URA. So which means there is this property that is going to come out. All right, so although they did try to bid for this land, but because of due to some adjustments, all right, nobody takes up this place. So with Springleaf being the first residential there, if you look at the surrounding, what will you be getting in future? So definitely you'll be getting one residential with commercial space on the first floor as part of the supermarket, as well as childcare development center. So in a way, you can anticipate that this will be coming in future, but the question is when. Okay, when is the big question? Because if we start looking at the entire Springleaf area, you do notice that what kind of injections of supply or even demand that we need to really boost up this entire location. Because most of it are all the landed properties, right? We have the 3-story mixed landed and the 3-story semi-D around the area. So today, are we going to go into an area where you are the first? Yes, there's definitely the idea of future plots of residential, but right now they are not being zoned yet. That means they have not been cut out into the different sizes. So the question mark of urban planning, whenever is subject to detailed planning, and there's no demarcation of what kind of properties, or at least the layout of those properties, is going to be tough to determine your position in the marketplace. Unless today you are looking at holding on to the property maybe beyond 10 years or even 15 years, then maybe as you are staying in that area, the area will slowly transform by having more amenities, which is something that I definitely believe it is going to be so. But of course, the only question mark is when. When will it become a reality? Will we want to enter into a property market hoping Okay, when there's a hope, meaning there's a certain risk involved, hoping that things will happen in the next 3 to 4 years, or you would rather go to a certain area where there's already demarcations of the transformation in the future, or maybe even the certain amenities, certain transportation and connectivities are already in place and you pay that slight premium. All right, so if you're looking out also for that kind of stability and confidence that, okay, this area is where I want to go for, then we can actually also guide you through on what are the key factors we should be looking out for in any property. So one of the key thing about this area, no doubt we do have the Thomson-East coastline as well as north-south corridor. We also need to understand that today, based on the entire Thomson-East coastline and north-south corridor, where will the government actually be focusing on? Okay, which area? Would it be in the Woodlands area? Would it be in the Springleaf area? Or will it be in the Lentor area moving downwards? All right, so these are all some of the focus that as we study our urban planning, we need to understand very well. And I did a video regarding urban planning advantage and how do we actually determine how urban planning is being done. You need to use that as a reference point as well. And you can check it out, some of the video regarding master plan. So one of the key concerns that we have here, to be very transparent, is definitely the lack of schools. Okay, and surrounding, you can see there's not much support in terms of upgraders. Although we only have landed properties, maybe you will have downsizers, okay, or you have upgraders who are intending to buy another condominium when you are staying around this area. But the majority of upgraders who are going for a condominium from HDBs are very limited here, or should I say non-existent at all. Largely also due to the schools. All right, most of the families, if you are looking at an area like OCR in Springleaf, you are also be very concerned about, hey, if I'm going to stay here, where are my kids going to study? So then that will also translate to, are you holding on to this property in the midterm or a long term per se? What's your objective? What's your timeline going to be? All these are important. And because there's no schools within 2 km, so you need to be extra careful about how you want to position. Yeah, so that like the key thing like expressway, all these things, I think if you are already going into this location, you will know there are some of all these noises, dust, area that you need to be aware of. So yeah, so the very one thing that I believe today, what it lacks here that contribute to a certain benchmark that is unfavorable is the lack of the support logic that we very much look into, because it's not about how you buy a property, it's about how you're going to exit in future. All right, so then of course when we look at the entire Springleaf area, then you will start looking at, okay, maybe you can go downwards, okay, towards the south side of to Lentor. So this is where the Lentor township is. But so you can see a distinctive difference. So this is Lentor. Okay, and then this is Springleaf. All right, you can see a very distinctive change in terms of how the demarcation of the developments are. In Lentor, we are much more condensed. There's already HDBs there, there's already existing condominiums there, all the way down to Tokyo. So there's a certain support logic that we can actually use that as a key reference point. So the question is, will the Lentor upgraders, be it whether they are homeowners of Lentor Township or the upgraders from the HDBs, will they move upwards to Springleaf? So this is also something that you need to be aware of, that will they move just because they can be closer to nature? So these are all things. Or will they go up to, or will the upper north from Yishun side come down? All right, you can see the entire Yishun demarcation versus Springleaf. Okay, you can see a huge difference. So a majority of the narrative now in the market is that a lot of upgraders there, they will also look into moving downwards to Springleaf. All right, so the question is, if they are in Yishun, they will stay in Yishun also. So Springleaf does give you the first mover advantage, but you also do need to know where your exit is going to be in future. All right, so this is very important. And why are we sharing this with you? Because a lot of times homeowners are always exiting into the wrong timeline. Okay, they are entering in the wrong position, wrong timeline, And that's when it affects their exit, that they cannot move forward with their next plan, be it whether it's upgrading process or maybe their family cycle has actually changed and they are kind of stuck in their position where they don't have enough options to look into. So our role is really to help you exercise that, to kind of plan out ahead before you actually make any major decisions. So this is extremely crucial. All right, so one of the things that we want to kind of draw your attention to is also when this news came out about the Woodlands per square foot, right? We have did a study to kind of understand that with this EC prices, how would it weigh it out in comparison to all the different zones? So as you can understand for REI, right, they launched in beginning of 2025, and their land cost was 721 square feet. Average per square foot sold was average about $1,700, $1,800 per square foot already. And this is an EC, please take note. So the 3-bedroom and 4-bedroom averagely is already going about $1,800 to $1,900 per square foot. And if you start comparing this to the pricing of different zones, then you will have a better understanding that with the EC transactions already transacting about $1,700 to $1,800. If today you can go into Springleaf, technically you are going into a post 2022 kind of pricing, because it's hovering close to $1,900 plus to even $2,000 or even $2,100 per square foot, where average the OCR market right now are already hovering about $2,300 per square foot. So then there's a certain what we call price gap that we can actually benchmark with, and this gives you a good indication to highlight that, hey, today with the EC comparison, there's a certain support, but this is a more general price quantum, because Woodlands, if they're averaging about this kind of pricing, then how much will you value Springleaf? Okay, how much will you value Springleaf? And for Springleaf, the average, after we calculated all the extra breakdown of cost, the construction, their break-even estimated should be about $1,688. Okay, based on their land price of $905, then their break-even estimate will be about $1,700 per square foot. Okay, so if you look at, if let's say they are going to go for a 10 to 20% margin, then the launch of about $2,000 to $2,200 per square foot, is it reasonable for us to look into? Because if you look at the price guide, they have 1-bedroom are starting from $878,000, and the 2-bedrooms are already crossing about slightly over 1 million. So today, in today's market, you want to find any of this kind of pricing is harder than diamond to find. Okay, well, so of course for 3-bedroom, given the take that their sizes, they do have smaller ones, but then you can also look at the bigger ones to kind of, for your family lifestyle to kind of buy and to have a more comfortable space to enter in. All right, so with this also give us a good comparison. Later on, we will also go through with how the Lentor collection, okay, how the prices are there. Are there enough supply in the entire area that contributes that today Springleaf is worth to even consider? So to give you a quick overview, I just want to give you an overview about how the entire Singapore prices are. The yellow color one are all in OCR. The green ones are in the RCR zone. So this, you can see that, let's say we're talking about the Lentor area. We're talking about them already costing about $2,001 to $2,000, $2,200 per square foot. And we're going to dive deeper into the specific project. So you must really continue watching on. Okay, for of course some of the recent launches like Chuan Park is already costing at 2005. Okay, Alta already at 2005. And if we really want to move and say that, oh, because Springleaf, Lentor, all these are further away, okay, we can even use the lakeside residences at $2,100 plus per square foot. And if you have been following, you will also understand how Canberra residences are performing in the recent launch as well. If not, you can actually check out one of my videos that I did between the Springleaf as well as Canberra comparison. So there are insights that we have understand between these two projects of where we should position ourselves depending on your objective. Very important. It's always about your objective. So for Norwood at Woodlands, you're already aware that they sold close over $2,000 per square foot. And on the first day, a lot of the units are being sold. So right now, the average is about $2,167 per square foot average. All right, so this is how we use a Woodlands property to kind of see, okay, does it make sense for me to enter into Springleaf? But that says there's a certain margin that you need to establish yourself with. There's a certain premium. What kind of premium do we actually incur for whether it's Norwood or whether it's Springleaf? So for the latest Lentor Central Residences as well, average is about 2002. And right now, based on the supply, so a lot of times there will be this narrative in the market that says that now there's not much supply in the entire area. That's why today, if you enter into the property market, your prices will eventually climb up, which is definitely based on the supply and demand concept. It makes perfect sense. When there's a low supply, prices will eventually go up. So again, it's still also down to, will your next purchaser see this Springleaf Residences as the area where I can see myself staying for whether it's beyond 5 years or even beyond 10 years moving forward. So if you look at the entire Lentor collection, we are already almost not much stocks left. Okay, all right, really, if you ask me, less than 2-3% of units, and this is as of updated as today. And you can see a lot of the Lentor Mansion, Lentor Modern already finished, Lentor Mansion as well as Lentor Central. So the Lentor Hills Residences also already sold. So if today you are looking into the north area and you want to kind of tap on the TEL Thomson-East coastline advantage as well as the north-south corridor, then besides Springleaf Residences, then you can also consider Skilllock or even Lentoria as one of your choices. See, so that's why there's a lack of supply in the marketplace. That's why everybody is talking about this mega launch. There's going to be a lot of hype about it, no doubt, because everybody is talking about it. But in a mid-term or even longer-term perspective, could there also be other areas where we can further explore? Unless the quantum is really an issue that this is going to be your first entry into the property market, and you really have very tight, limited price point and budget, right? Then perhaps Springleaf is go in and hope and pray that you can get a good better number also possible, right? So this is something that we need to be aware of. And so for Lentor, right, one of the key things is that you must understand, like say for example, Lentor Modern, right? They are really transacting about $2,265 per square foot. All right, so today, if let's say you are buying Springleaf at about $2,000, $2,100 per square foot, actually, are you buying 3 years ago or even 2 years ago pricing in the marketplace? All right, so later on, we will also look into the situation where when we do a comparison between the Lentor properties to the Woodlands properties as well as Springleaf, where do we stand? How are we able to exit in 2029 when a lot of all these supplies are also coming in, and how do I position myself in the marketplace as a resale property? I think this is extremely important for us to look into. All right, so for the current properties in Lentor Central, you can see their price average per square foot already also went up to even $2,400 to even $2,600 per square foot. Of course, these are considered higher units. So with Lentor launches that in 2022 to 2025, prices were already more than 2,100, and they are the non-harmonized properties, which means today if you are going to Springleaf, it's a harmonized project, which means that the efficiency of space are much better and you have no wasted space in somehow, which we will come in and share with you. Even though it's under harmonized, there are certain layouts that I personally find that if you can avoid, you try to avoid. Okay, because it's not only just about the size, it's not only just about the price, it's also about the livability of that property. I think this is extremely crucial. So today, even if we factor in that, today Springleaf is harmonized and we have to factor in about 8%, then it will be averaging about $2,200 per square foot. So with Springleaf, you're entering about $2,000 to $2,100 per square foot. In numbers form, you are still lower. Okay, so that's why this is very important. And later on, as we dive deeper into the specific Lentor collection, as well as Norwood, right, then you can see how we are using that as a guideline and to compare it along the entire Thomson-East coastline, because that is the biggest part of the town. The reason why they built the MRT, why they have the north-south corridor, is really to link from the south to the north. And since we're along the same line and we're only a few stations away from each other, you cannot avoid not to see them as a whole to compare. Right, but so before that, I want to just kind of dive in to share with you my layouts that you need to avoid, and also some of the key layouts that I find that they are very favorable. Even from now, even if you want to hold on to that property for the next 10 to 15 years, it's still very desirable in the marketplace as a resale property in future. All right, so for the 3-bedroom, right now you can see the 786 square feet ones. Okay, so the idea, everybody is saying that, oh, let's go for bigger size. But if let's say today you are kind of limited with your selection and choices, then the 786 square feet is somehow of an entry level of a 3-bedroom. And the reason why they are able to still fit in a very comfortable layout like this, because they did a dumbbell. So they have 1 bedroom by here and then 2 bedroom on the other side. So this is a very rare 3-bedroom dumbbell that I've been sharing quite a fair bit in terms of the videos that I've done. And moving forward, I believe if let's say developers really want to give the consumers a livable space, they should all build their 3-bedroom like as a dumbbell. Okay, so now the conventional ones, if you can see from, so let's say this is A and this is B, right? You can see the B conventional layout of a 3-bedroom generally is still functional, but usually what we are worried about is the extra wasted space of the long corridor. But that says, if you also have been to see my video on Prominent Peak as well as River Green, River Green's design, although is a conventional corridor layout, they did it a very smart configuration for the layout that basically it shrinks the entire space, so you have less wasted space. So that's something that you all can also check out in one of my other videos. So the reason for why I want to share with you A and B is because today both have their pros and cons. All right, even so for the dumbbell layout for A, you need to accept that the space is really 786 square feet only. And if you today you intend to use this property as a kind of a stepping stone for you to have your kids in future, the size wise is definitely doable, but you do need to take note that if let's say you intend to hold this property beyond your kids growing up, then the schools may be a big concern in future. Whereas for the 818 square feet on numbers, it makes a little more sense, but you need to be extra careful that instead of just the space in the corridor, the entrance is also bigger. So entrance is really dependent on your ballot number and what kind of price point that you are able to choose. As ideal, we will want to avoid a entrance like this because yes, you get the privacy, but yet the space that you really cannot utilize, you can always put in your shoe cabinet if that is a die must have kind of thing. But I would rather pay for space that I can utilize, especially with a harmonized project. We are no longer paying for the AC ledge. Then may as well I fit everything into a workable, livable space that I can utilize, right? Yeah, so but the typical layout, I believe it is not going to be too much of a big concern. I think one advantage right now for the harmonized is because their balcony space is not crazy anymore. So if given a choice, if you ask me to choose a 3-bedroom, I would rather just go for the 818 square feet. I'm sorry, the 786 square feet A instead. But if let's say today you have a certain extra margin of your income that you want to go for, then you can consider definitely the bigger 900 square feet unit. So there's a 904, so this is A, this is B, and then this is C. So even out of all these three, if my top choice will definitely be the 904 square feet. Given that, first of all, we are not having much wasted space, although all three are considered corridor layout. But the other two, you do have entrance that is longer, which depends on how you see it. So 904 to me, I think it fits very, very well because besides just being a corner, you do have some space of privacy. It's not as big as how you can see for the other two comparison. All right, so this is how we want to maximize your ability of space as much as possible. So this 3-bedroom, that you need to take note that these are all the 3+1 because you do have one flexi area that you can make use of it, either as a study or helper's room. To me, I believe is a little bit too luxurious. But what I will do is I may want to split it half. Okay, I may want to split it half so that one part of it can be a helper's area with storage. The other side, I can still turn it into a study area or maybe even more storage for me in this 3-bedroom. Yeah, so the 3 plus study configuration, I believe the 904 square feet, I believe this is definitely my top choice. Okay, so if you are a little bit more experimental, okay, you have been seeing layouts like this for the longest time. It's always quite conventional, right? Or you go in, you see your kitchen, then you see your living hall, then you go to your rooms. Then you may want to explore the conservation layout. Okay, so in case you do not know Springleaf residence, one of the unique part is that they have a building that is conserved, or which is a school in previous time, and they configure some of the units into the room, the rooms as well. But most of the facilities will also be housing in that building, which means it's easy for you to get access to. And these two comparison, in only if you are kind of want to explore a little bit different with different attributes. So the first type, which is the 1119 square feet unit, you can see that one of the key things is that there is totally no balcony. Totally no balcony, yeah. So which means every space that you're paying for in 1119 square feet are livable space. And the entire configuration is how I call it corner facing. All right, so this kind of typical layout for A, right? You only get it in maybe some of the older developments where they are maybe about 20 years. So that when you go in, all your units are in the corner. All right, so it all saves space, and your kitchen also is tucked in one corner. So there's no absolute wasted space, which gives you the luxury of a very wide living and dining area. This one you can run 20 meters around if you want to. All right, so this is definitely if you are somebody who's a space lover, okay, you do not need to constrain to the balcony space, the wasted walkway. You can actually make use of this quite well. The only factor that I believe that we can also enhance this is to use this area. Let me just demark this better. You can also use this area, all right, to ensure that you have an additional storage space, because your kitchen now is bigger. You have almost 8 square meters, and it's a longish, very similar to a lot of the more premium kind of developments that we have seen. But ideally is you have very good space for all your rooms, and there's no wasted space. I think this is one of the better configuration if you're going for no balcony. Then they have another one is if you are a balcony lover. All right, if you're a balcony lover, then you have a very comfortable 20 square meters balcony where you can utilize it as part of your entertainment. A lot of us, when we are using balcony, we also use it as storage, okay, outdoor storages. All right, so that also helps us to actually use this configuration. But again, the layout are all very well done because everything is in the corner. Okay, all is in the corner. So you can see the areas of the space. So I think the 1259 square feet, because of the size, you also have your own walk-in wardrobe area. So this is typical, very comfortable area with no wasted space again, and you have a very good size kitchen, very comfortable, even all the way to 5 square meters in terms of the yard area. So you can convert that into also a helper's corner, definitely. All right, so there's many ways that you can actually configure this. It's just that, can you accept the balcony? All right, you have to accept that the balcony space takes up almost 20 square meters of yours. But again, I believe a very squarish layout like this for 3-bedroom, you can also consider. So one of the I would say upsetting, but one of the layouts that I find a little bit disappointing, okay, moving forward as being harmonized, I think there's a better utilization of space. So if today you are looking for this kind of layout, or maybe you can pay attention a little bit from my perspective of how I see, and maybe you can reconsider some of your own plans as well. Okay, so the other layout that I want to kind of share with you all is the 4-bedroom versus the 5-bedroom layout. So this is purely from my own perspective, how I believe in future when any homeowners want to stay in a property, they need to have certain common traits of that property. So for the 1227 square feet unit, you can see that this one we have the master room. Okay, we have the 2nd bedroom, we have the 3rd bedroom, and then we have the 4th bedroom. And 4 bedrooms, the key thing is that we are using 1 and what is it? Two toilets. So this is something I always cannot accept. Although we do have seen some of this layout, especially in the Lentor collection area, a lot of their 4 bedrooms are actually with 2 toilets also. There's other developments that we have seen as well. Like I said, this is more of a personal preference for me, is that could the developer actually have done a better job in terms of 4 bedroom? You're paying for a premium for 4 bedroom because you need the space. But the last thing you want is every morning you need to rush and fight for the toilet, right? Also, yeah, so typically for me, for 4 bedroom, I believe at least a 3 lah. Here you want, if you consider, here let me see, yeah. So you can consider this as part of the how future layouts are going to be. But again, I always find that the last thing you want is every morning you have to fight, or you have a timetable for your toilet visiting. Okay, I think that is something that we need to be a little bit careful about when we're selecting. And because of the 9 square meter balcony that they stretches it over to the other room, this could actually be additional space that they could configure one more toilet out. That is what I believe in. And so typically, if you ask me for the 4 bedroom, the 1,227 square feet unit, the toilet will be a huge concern. Although the size-wise, the space, everything is very good. And I think I particularly like the length, which is 3.2 meters for the living and the dining, which is very generous, and very rare you will get a 3.2 meters. And Springleaf across the board, even the 3 bedroom, 2 bedrooms are very generous in terms of length. But if you compare to this 1227 versus the 1259, which is the layout, right, for a 3 bedroom, then you can see that today, if I want to pay for a 20 square meter layout, maybe I will want to go for a 4 bedroom instead. So these are how we help you to do comparison as we move forward with the comparison of layout, prices, and as well as what kind of stacks are we looking at, what kind of floor level are we looking at. So if you look at the 5 bedroom types, okay, 5 bedroom type at least is a little bit more comfortable because they have the dumbbell kind of junior master on one side. Of course, the other side, you are still sharing 2 toilets, but at least there's total 3 toilets that you can work with. And that's why you can see a huge jump in terms of size also. Of course, not only just because of the toilet. Okay, this gives you a much more comfortable space across the board, and you have also kind of a WC that you can actually tap on. Even though the 4 bedroom, you also have a WC, but typically if you are in a living quarters, you want to have your own space for a toilet as well. All right, so this is something that I always share in my other videos, as if today you want to go for a 4 and 5 bedroom, at least give me something decent for to share toilet lah. Okay, maybe even a Jack and Jill kind of configuration, it will help. Which definitely some of the developers we have seen, some of the units we have seen, they have done pretty nicely layout for the 4 and 5 bedroom. So this is again my personal opinion on if today given a choice, would I really go for the 4 bedroom because of that? Depends on the pricing still. I think last but not least, I want to kind of share with you guys is really what is the future connectivity going to be like? And I'm going to use this as an example. I'm going to use the example because I'm going to kind of use the North-South corridor as well as Thomson-East coastline to kind of direct to you how the prices are going to be like in future. So we all know North-South corridor is going to connect from the south to the north mainly. And that's why the Thomson-East coastline effect was done. All right, and this was already operational. And if we start looking at what kind of effects the MRT line has on the property, if you want to have a clearer chart about this, you can always PM us, direct us. We can send you a screenshot so that you can see better on what is the percentage growth, all right, from 2021 to 2025 in the properties around the Thomson-East coastline. So this is how in-depth we go into to understand the effects of how an MRT, not just about Thomson-East coastline, but maybe even other lines, has it really impact the price growth? Or it's just something that is more convenient, but people are not really going to pay more for it. So if you want data like this, you can always let us know. So I just want to do a comparison between the Thomson-East coastline, which is more comparable to Springleaf. That you can see that for Norwood, right? Norwood, averagely their per square foot is already hovering about $2,000 per square foot. All right, and this is all the way here. And if we come down further, we have Lentor area. All right, the Lentor MRT site. Lentor Mansion is already crossing about $2,200 per square foot. And Lentor Central Residences is also crossing about $2,200 per square foot. And today, if we are looking at Springleaf average, we are talking about okay, let's just use $2,000 per square foot all the way to even $2,100 per square foot. Are you in a very safety margin to look into? So give and take, of course, for Norwood, even Lentor area has a certain support logic based on the upgraders, based on their existing prices. But then looking at this using the new EC prices also, will it give us a benchmark to say that, hey, Springleaf at $2,000 to $2,100 per square foot, is it worth it? And more importantly is with these prices that has really been transacted, how are we able to actually exit in 2029 with all this supply going on at maybe ideal situation at $2,400 per square foot? Is that workable? So this is where I want to kind of give you guys a quick overview, right, of how we look at prices and what are the price gap that we are doing. So let me give you an example. So let's say today, right? Let's say today we are looking at the entry of, let me just do this. All right. So let's say we look at the furthest away, which is Woodlands. So we look at Norwood. So Norwood Grand, right? Averagely, their prices is about $2,000 per square foot, average lah. And if you have Lentor area, where we are already seeing them going for what, $2,200 per square foot. So this is Lentor collection. Averagely is about $2,002 to even $2,003 per square foot. Okay, this is their entry averagely. So moving forward, let's say back in 2029, later on, when the properties are all ready, how much would they need to sell to kind of make a comfortable range of capital? And how will the entire Thomson-East coastline North-South corridor push up their prices when more developments are going in, because they are fairly near to each other? And when the entire north side being transformed, everyone will also be pushed up at the same time. So let us use a very simple understanding, which means Norwood, let's say we are looking at maybe just about, let's say 2,000, which means maybe when they want to sell, they can sell at about Lentor's area's entry price. Then when you look at Lentor, next time when they want to sell, they will have to sell at least what, 2,000. Let's say Lentor, they will have to sell at least 2,004 to even 2,005K per square foot. Agree? All right, so this is where the margin will continue to climb. But today, if let's say you are looking into Springleaf, and Springleaf right now, their prices is hovering about 2,000, okay, to maybe even $2,001 per square foot. And in future, if you want to sell come 2029, will you be able to sell at 2,004 per square foot? Because you're buying actually much lower than where Lentor collection is. So this becomes a safety that, because there's another segment of properties that has transacted much earlier than you, and they will become your pooling factor to reach that kind of per square foot. But that says another question you also need to ask yourself is, if let's say today we already acknowledge that there will be besides Lentor, besides Springleaf Residences, there's going to be another mixed D development that is going to be launched. So with that kind of premiumness, that kind of integration, how much would it be more than Springleaf Residences? So let's say we say that maybe they will start off with 2,003. Okay, maybe about $2,300 per square foot. So this one we talk about, let's say Springleaf Parcel B. Parcel A, sorry, yeah. So let's say they sell at 2,003K per square foot. In future, how much will they need to sell? They need to sell at least 2,006K per square foot minimum. And today, being you going enter into Springleaf at 2001, which means you have not only just an exit point, one, you can exit at how Lentor future are going to sell. And if the market really potentially goes up to your advantage, right, you can even exit at 2006, 2005 per square foot. So this is what we call having multiple exit points will allow you to have more options, not necessarily that you need to force yourself to buy and sell at a certain point. You do have more advantages to move forward that, hey, if the market is in my favor, I could have different exit points later on to monitor. And this is extremely important for us to look into. Why? Because today, I want to be also very openly transparent. The main concern, okay, the main concern will be, where are the upgraders going to come from? Okay, who's going to buy from you in future, whether it's 5 years or 10 years down the road? Would it be from the issuance side? Would it be from the Lentor side? Would it be the upgraders from the condos that they already are staying in Lentor and then they upgrade to Springleaf? Would that be a highly possible thought process? Upgraders from HDBs, Yishun, Lentor, go to Springleaf. What is the highly chance of that happening? So unless today, based on today's video, based on today's research and information that we have, there's a limited of residentials that's going to be redeveloped. There's no plans yet. So the idea of projecting too far into what the plots of residentials are going to be, I think that is a guessing. Okay, we're guessing through it. And if we're guessing through it, that means there's a certain risk involved that you need to be aware of. Okay, so this is why I always want to make sure that some of all these facts, reality, are being known to you first before you make a decision. All right. So this is extremely important. And so today, if let's say you are looking into property, then you may want to kind of just scan the QR code and you find that maybe there are certain thoughts process that you want somebody to bounce off idea with, or to seek a second opinion. Let us know. It's not only just for Springleaf. Okay, Springleaf is going to be for this last weekend. But if let's say you are also looking at other properties, whether it's Sky Holland, whether you are looking at Margaret Drive area, or even the Zaran Road, Zaran Grand, and also the Sand at Beauty World, these are all upcoming projects that today is not about which one you should buy. It's about which one you should not buy. Okay, I think that is more important because there's so many. If you have the funds, you know what you want, you can just buy anything. But will that property be ideal for you moving forward? Then that's a very, very big question you need to ask yourself. Okay, so if you find that today the videos that we have done actually guides you through some understanding and you kind of equip yourself better with the knowledge, well, do really remember to subscribe and continue follow us on the channel so that as we move forward with more more new launches or even resale comparison and also the market updates, then you are also kept in the loop, and click on the bell button to keep yourself notified whenever we do a new video. All right, with that, cheers.